Hello YouTubers, my video today is gonna be about a 3-day headache process of adding an LCD to a BMS, this BMS. And the instructions, if you look at all the videos, the pictures online on eBay or so, they have pictures that showing the wiring diagram like this. You have two ends, one like this, and only have two exact same ends, and they come basically cut in half. But in the video and the instructions, they tell you to wire it up black to black, green to green, red to red, yellow to yellow. 3 days back and forth with the guy on eBay trying to figure out why the LCD would not work. I was coming to the conclusion that he sold me a bad BMS, or something was wrong with it. It was defective, and decided to do some research by looking at the device itself. LCD. So I took it on myself to check the LCD because something had to been wrong, while he was telling me that it works perfectly fine. They tested it and nothing is wrong with it. So if you look at the instructions, I'm going to show you in a minute. And the picture, trying to find a picture of it. That's how it's set up on the BMS. But if you bought the BMS, it comes with a wire to jump. They call it a jump start, or to boot it up, like this. And if you plug it into the into the BMS, if you notice, it's like this, as in the red and the black are next to each other. If you haven't caught it, if you look at the picture online, red is on one side, on the left, black is on the right. So with that in mind, that's why I wired it with all the colors matching. Red to red, black to black, yellow to yellow. As you can see, the solder joints. And green to green. 3 days. The guy who even sold it to me couldn't even figure it out. So, like I said, I took it out myself, because I do electronics, to take a deeper look at it and started to pay attention to the board. If you look at the LCD, where the plug is plugged into, if you noticed, it says ground at the top and VCC, which is power, to the bottom, exactly how it's shown in the picture. But when they sell you these new versions, or I don't know what, the BMS does work, so you can't see a knockoff version or whatever it is. It has the black and the red next to each other. So if you plug it in, as you can see, black is the transmit one, not ground. And that's why you would have the no please connect BMS on the display, and don't care if you restart it, you do whatever you want to do to it, it doesn't switch to the LCD screen or show anyone the LCD screen because of the mismatch of, I guess, them making a mistake, or they made a different board and assemble it and didn't realize that it didn't match up. So to get it to work right, you still have to put the red and the black on the BMS, because that's exactly where it's supposed to go. You cannot put the red on the left and black on the right. It's gonna mess up. So when you wire it up, because it comes separated like I said. When you wire it up, you are gonna have to do it like this. Red to red, black to green. Yellow's the only one that stays to yellow, and other green to black. Because now, when you do it like that, it matches up right for the BMS side, showing the black and the red on one side. But when you swap the black and the greens together, you end up putting the green as the middle. Putting the green as the end, which is the ground. And then on the other end, that goes to the LCD, that's gonna be, this side is the LCD, and that side is gonna be, red is gonna be right, VCC, and green is gonna be ground. So they swap places. So, but you have to remember how you wire it up, because you cannot swap places. You have to make sure which one side goes to the LCD. So this side that that was not right. Even though it looks like this now, the way you wired it, it changes in the middle. So it's gonna look the same the way when you plug it in, but when you put it together, that's where it shows that's where you swap places. So now you can plug it in. So now, as you can see, we're gonna trace the green. Green wire is ground. Pull, pull, pull. Pull and keep going. And it's black. That's where it changes. And it goes to the other side that turns the black into what turns the original way of the BMS needing black to be on the second pin. So, because that's the way they have it set up on a BMS. So this LCD was made for a different version BMS, an older version or whatever, where they still had it set up like this. But a newer version, they put the power, negative and positive, all on the left hand side of the pins. And because of that, I'm sure people are getting mixed up, wondering why the LCD would not display any data. It keeps saying connect BMS, because the wiring that they send it out with is wrong, which they should update that and reroute the way the thing is set up, or test the units before they send them out and assemble the wire accordingly to how it's supposed to be for it to work. So if you have that problem, this is the solution why your BMS and your LCD is not matching up or not turning on, because the green is VCC and on the other end it actually is ground. So that you have to pay attention to. The transmit and receive is in the middle, but the transmit to they have as ground is not ground. It's actually a transmit signal. So now when you plug that in, put this over here, and get the BMS. Gonna plug in the BMS like this. I have my 48 volt Ford Fusion one. Well, no lie, it's an Infinity, Nissan Infinity hybrid battery pack. One of them, they're 48 volts a piece, 3 of them. And if you watch my other video, I was explaining to you about the wiring, how if you put the black on negative and the red on positive, that's how the BMS knows what battery pack that you're running with, whether it's 24 volts, 36 volts, or 48 volts, or 72 volts, whatever. That's what the red and the black are for. That's why the black one goes on the first ground of your battery bank, and the red attaches to the last balance wire on your battery bank, because that's the total of all the batteries in series. So now you're gonna plug in this. Well, this is actually the second harness, because this is number 15 to 16, and then you're gonna plug in the first one. You don't need to plug in the purple, the blue, and the ground wire, because that's charging. That has nothing to do with the power of the BMS. So now when you plug in the power side, now this side here, by the switches, this can take anywhere between, I think, 15 to 100 and something volts, because they made it versatile like that. So if you have a high voltage battery bank, it can still support it, or one above 12 volts, 15 volts. So now you see when I plug it in, it might stop beeping because this battery is low and this BMS is set to set alarm off at 40 volts to protect the system. So now I'm gonna plug it in, and see that? There you go. Yes. Before, it will show, yes, it's saying 90%, that was my battery bank percentage, and my alarm is set to 40 volts, or actually 42 volts, and that's why it's beeping right now, because it's letting me know that the battery bank is low. Yeah, everything is off. 40.8 volts. Yeah, nothing is going to show on the cells because none of the cells are connected. Why is it showing 0.4 amps? I don't know. So yes, that is the headache that I went through 3 days back and forth with the guy on eBay who didn't even know that the wiring was wrong until I sent a picture of him and say the wiring, the pinout is different between the LCD and the BMS. And then he messed me back. Oh, you had to connect the green to this, and I was like, I already know that because I know electronics. I'm telling you what your mistake was when y'all sent this out. So this will fix your problem. Having connect BMS display on the display and it's not turning on at all. The BMS still works, but you're not gonna get anything on the display because there's no transmit or receive signal from the BMS to the LCD to transmit whatever voltage is going through your battery bank. All because of that ground being in the wrong spot. All the way on the left on one side, and then next to the positive on one side, depending on however you look at it. So that's one thing that I was going through for 3 days, trying to figure out, and I figured out on my own, and I let them know. Now, the next thing is, hold on 1 second. Use the phone. One of the other problems I was having with the BMS was the charge controller that makes Sky Blue. It has to detect voltage. It has to detect voltage on the negative side to be able to turn on, because this is what charges. This is where the negative goes through. So because the BMS did boot up and everything, and it did work, but there was no connection. So in your parameters, I was using my iPhone at the time for it. There's something called, so I can find it, a voltage reference. Cell value, total capacity. I'm not seeing it in here because the app for the iPhone is different than the Android. Let's see if I can find what they name it as. Discharge, actual cell number. It should say 48 volts. Yeah. Well, I'm using my iPhone to record this video, so that's why I can't really show you. But there was a thing that said voltage reference. Even if you press CMOS on, you try to let me see if I can find it. Even if you turn on charge MOS and whatever, it still did not have anything on the output on the negative side, negative C side. There's nothing connecting it, no signal whatsoever. But when I had to charge the voltage reference, I was playing with it too, asking the guy about it, but it all depends on the user preference, so you really can't tell you what is what. I put in, since of the voltage reference, I know it's referencing my 48 volt bank. So I put in 48 volts, and the minute I hit set, it turned on the output side of the negative and connected it. Then my charge controller turned on. So if you have this BMS and you don't have any connection between the negative B minus and the C minus to go to the charger, and you notice if you turn your charger on or your charge controller doesn't turn on because it needs that signal from the negative side of the battery, because remember, the charging goes through this BMS. This the only negative connection is this. So if you don't have that, then nothing's gonna work or turn on. So remember to put it in the voltage reference, a 48 volt of whatever system that you have. So yeah, so now it shuts off the thing. But yeah, so that's all there is to it. So I hope I helped someone out there who had all the headache I did. I have the headache for you, and figured out that the wiring for this thing is completely wrong from what they have it listed online at eBay, or compared to the other BMSs that has the right wiring. Because this up here is right. Positive on one side, negative on the other side. That is correct. So if you had this BMS, it would automatically turn on, else you would have worked out of the box completely. You didn't need to swap no wires around. This new version of, well, I don't want to say knockoff version because it works perfectly fine. Everything works, all the features, everything, it works nice. But whatever they did, whoever they send that thing to assemble or whatever, they assembled this wrong, because it does not match the LCD wiring. Or they needed to make a new version of the LCD with the correct wiring, so you don't have to go through all this mix match of colors to get the LCD to display. So like I said, I hope I help someone. Hope to make more videos to help more people of my do it yourself solar system using the Leaf. So I'm getting there now. I just received my last battery pack 3 days ago, so I'll be having 3 big banks of Nissan Leaf batteries, so I can test this power jack 20 kW inverter. I'm gonna test it to make sure I can do what it's do, because they swear it on it that it can do 20 kW with 2 crappy fans on there. I don't know how it's supposed to keep it cool, but that's what they said. So I have 2 banks down. I just gotta wire the second bank up and put them in place and put it all together and then test out this inverter. So I'm almost at that point. In the next other few videos, I'll be doing the wind generator using the washing machine Maytag motors. If you see my other videos, you'll see a video of explaining what we'll be doing to that for wind generator for at night charging. So thank you again for watching. Have a good night or day, wherever side of the world you on. Hope this helped.